It's the same story every year. Summer is at its peak. Cucumbers are sprawling all over the ground. Grapevines are a tangled mess, and you're frantically searching for anything to tie them up to. Sound familiar? But what if I told you the solution to this yearly struggle isn't found in the scorching heat of July, but in the freezing cold of February? Yes, you heard that right. Winter is actually the secret time for preparing for a record harvest. In today's video, I'm going to reveal all the secrets to building the perfect trellis system for both your cucumbers and your grapes. We'll do the prep work now, so we can just sit back and enjoy the results come summertime. Stick around and you'll learn how one simple winter project can permanently change your approach to gardening and make all your neighbours seriously jealous. Before we grab our tools, let's figure out why we even need a trellis system in the first place. A lot of people still let their cucumbers crawl on the ground and their grapes grow all over the fence. That, my friends, is a huge mistake. Vertical gardening isn't just trendy, it's an agricultural necessity. First, it's a massive space saver. You can easily produce several times more yield in the same square footage. Second, plants on a trellis get better airflow and much more sunlight. That means you can wave goodbye to common fungal diseases and rot. Your produce won't be sitting on damp dirt. The fruits will be clean, beautiful, and so much easier to pick. And for grapes, having the right support is the key to healthy vines and sweet berries. So why are we talking about this in the dead of winter? It's simple. You have the time. There's no rush, no scorching sun beating down on you. You can calmly plan everything out, purchase your materials, maybe even snag some winter discounts, and take your time assembling the pieces in the warmth of your garage or workshop. By spring, all you'll have to do is put the finished kit together. So how does any major building project begin? You guessed it, with a plan. Our trellis structure is no exception. That first, crucial winter evening should be entirely dedicated to the planning stage. Don't rush out to the hardware store for lumber or piping just yet. Grab your tape measure, a notebook, and head out to your plot, even if it's currently buried under snow. You need to clearly define the placement. Where exactly will the cucumbers grow? Where is the vineyard planted? Measure the length and width of those beds. Also, be sure to think about sun exposure. A trellis is best oriented from north to south. That way, your plants will receive maximum sunlight throughout the day. Draw a simple diagram of your future structure. What height are you aiming for? 2 meters is usually enough for cucumbers, but vigorous grapevines might need up to 2.5 meters. What distance will you leave between the support posts? Typically, 2 to 3 meters is standard. This simple sketch, your back of the envelope plan, will become your roadmap. It will help you accurately calculate materials and save you from costly errors and rework down the road. Don't skip this critical planning stage. After all, the golden rule, measure twice, cut once, applies here perfectly. Let's dive into the specifics now. You might think a trellis is a trellis, no matter the plant, but that's simply not the case. The support system needed for delicate cucumber vines is vastly different from the one required for sturdy, powerful grapevines. Cucumbers are annuals. Their foliage, while lush, is relatively light. The primary purpose of a cucumber trellis is to provide direction and ensure maximum light exposure. Grapes, however, are perennial woody vines that gain enormous weight over the years. Their canes are thick and strong, and the resulting harvest can weigh tens of kilograms. Consequently, a grape trellis needs to be monumental and robust, designed for decades of service. It must be able to handle not only the immense weight of the plant and the fruit, but also strong wind gusts. This means the materials, the method of anchoring, and even the foundation for the posts will differ dramatically. Recognizing this difference is the key to success. Trying to grow grapes on a flimsy cucumber net is a guaranteed recipe for failure, setting both the plant and your hard work up for disaster. That's why we will examine these two structures in parallel throughout this process, emphasizing their critical distinctions at every stage. We'll kick things off with the most popular and arguably the warmest material, wood. A wooden trellis is incredibly aesthetic. It fits seamlessly into any garden setting, bringing a sense of rustic comfort and harmony with nature. For a simple cucumber trellis, standard pine or spruce lumber will work perfectly. Think roughly 2 by 2 inch beams, or 50 by 50 millimeters, or even standard 1-inch thick boards. That's more than enough to handle the weight of the vines and the harvest for a single growing season. Grape trellises, however, have much stricter requirements. You'll need posts made from durable hardwoods such as oak or highly rot-resistant options like cedar or larch. These posts should be heavy-duty, at least 4 by 4 inches or 100 by 100 millimeters in size. But wood has one major enemy: moisture. That's why the single most crucial step is preservation, and ideally this should be done indoors in a dry space during the winter months. Any wood, especially the section that will be buried in the ground, must be meticulously protected. You can use specialised wood sealants and preservatives, or you can rely on the old tried and true method. Torch the wood with a blowtorch and then treat it with bituminous mastic or even used motor oil. This simple seasonal ritual will extend the life of your wooden trellis for many years to come. If you're looking for a structure you can truly set and forget, then metal is the way to go. It is synonymous with strength and durability. A properly treated metal trellis can easily last 10, 20, or even 30 years without requiring significant maintenance. For a cucumber support, you can use light rebar, perhaps 8 to 10 millimeters in diameter, or thin-walled square tubing, for example, 20 by 20. However, if you are working with grapes, you'll need something much more heavy-duty. The optimal solution is solid steel pipes, 50 millimeters, or larger in diameter, or structural tubing 40 by 40 millimeters, with a wall thickness of at least 2 millimeters. The main drawback of metal is obvious: corrosion. Therefore, just like with wood, winter is the perfect time for protective treatments. All your metal components must first be thoroughly cleaned of rust using a wire brush, then degreased with the solvent, and absolutely coated with an anti-corrosion primer. Only after the primer is applied should you put on the finish paint, ideally in 2 coats. This is a dirty, dusty, and smelly job, and tackling it in a ventilated garage during the winter is much more comfortable than trying to do it outside in the summer heat. Tired of dealing with wood and metal? The modern market offers plenty of great alternatives. Take, for example, composite or fiberglass rebar. It won't rust, won't rot. It's incredibly lightweight and quite durable. For a cucumber trellis, it's absolutely perfect. It bends easily, allowing you to create arched hoops and structures, and it will last a very long time. For grapes, you can also use these rods as horizontal crosspieces where you string your wire, but as main support posts. They just don't offer the stiffness that metal does. Another excellent option: plastic PVC piping. Using fittings and basic solvent cement, you can snap and glue them together like a construction set to build a light and durable trellis for your cucumbers. And don't forget to consider salvaged materials: old window frames, leftover chicken wire, or chain link fence scraps, long hazel or willow branches. All of these can be transformed into reliable supports for your plants. Winter is the perfect time to take inventory of your treasures in the shed and let your creative imagination run wild. This approach is not only cost-effective, but also incredibly sustainable. Once you've established your frame of posts and crossbars, the next critical question is, what exactly will your plants cling to? You essentially have 2 main options here: netting or taut wire. For plants like cucumbers, which instinctively grab hold with their delicate tendrils, netting is the perfect solution. This usually means a specialised plastic trellis netting with a large mesh size, easily sourced from any garden centre. It's lightweight, won't damage the plants, and is simple to install. An alternative is metal wire mesh, such as galvanised or polymer-coated fencing. While it's certainly more durable, it's also heavier and can get excessively hot under direct sun. Now for grapes, netting is not the ideal choice. Their vigorous canes require careful training, direction, and manual tying. This is why grape trellises utilise multiple rows of horizontally taut wire instead. This should be durable galvanized steel wire, ideally at least 3 millimeters in diameter. The spacing between these rows typically falls between 30 and 40 centimeters, about 12 to 16 inches. Winter is the perfect time to calmly measure and cut your wire to length and prepare your tensioning system, a topic we'll dive into shortly. Let's take a look at the most popular and straightforward design for growing cucumbers outdoors, the A-frame trellis, sometimes called a teepee or tent. It is incredibly stable, easy to build, and very convenient to use. Picture 2 frames which you can construct from lumber or weld from metal profiles, joined at the top by a crossbar and set at an angle to each other, forming that characteristic A shape. Trellising net is then stretched across these sloping planes. So, what's the appeal of this design? First, the cucumbers grow on both sides, maximising their exposure to sunlight. Second, the space inside the tent creates shade, where you can plant greens or herbs that don't tolerate direct sun. Third, harvesting is an absolute breeze. All the cucumbers hang right in front of you. No need to crawl through the rows searching for them. You can actually build the 2 side frames completely during the winter months. Cut your lumber to the required size, for example, 2 meters high and 1 meter wide at the base. Secure them with screws to form sturdy rectangles, adding cross braces for extra rigidity. Then, while you're still inside the warmth, attach the netting to these frames using a construction stapler. In the spring, all you have to do is bring the 2 finished sections out to the garden and connect them at the top. Growing cucumbers in a greenhouse requires specific techniques. Space is at a premium, and A-frame structures are often simply too cumbersome. That's why vertical trellising is the preferred method inside a greenhouse. If you have a polycarbonate structure with a sturdy metal frame, you have a huge advantage. You can attach a horizontal wire or rigid pipe directly to the upper frame elements, running the entire length of the row. From this central horizontal support, individual lines are dropped down to each plant. This can be durable twine, rope, or even chain. As the cucumber vine grows, it simply spirals around this vertical guide. This system ensures maximum airflow and light exposure, and it dramatically simplifies both maintenance and harvesting. During the winter off-season, you can prepare all the necessary materials, cut your twine to the required length, with extra, and plan out your frame attachment system. You could even make custom hooks or loops that can be quickly and easily secured into position once spring arrives. This type of preparation ahead of time will save you a massive amount of stress and time during the peak planting season. Now, let's turn our attention to grapes. The simplest and most common structure for growing grapevines is the single plane trellis. This system consists of a row of vertical posts with wires strung tightly between them. All the components are kept within a single plane, which is of course where the name comes from. This type of trellis is absolutely ideal for beginner growers, and it's also perfect for planting grapes along walls, fences, or utilising small garden spaces. The vine itself is trained using either a fan or cordon system, and crucially, all the shoots and grape clusters are positioned entirely on one side. This significantly simplifies tasks like pruning, disease management, and, especially important, winterizing the vines. The standard height for a single plane trellis typically ranges from 2 to 2.5 meters. The bottom wire is usually strung about 50 centimeters above the ground, with subsequent wires spaced every 30 to 40 centimeters above that. During the winter months, you can fully prepare your posts. This means cutting them to the exact size, treating them against rot or corrosion, and even drilling through holes at the precise heights needed for threading the support wire. This is meticulous work that demands accuracy, and it's definitely best to take your time doing it without rush, perhaps in the comfort of your own workshop. For those looking to get the absolute maximum performance from their vineyard, there is a more advanced option, the dual plane trellis. As the name implies, it uses 2 separate planes to manage the vine canopy. This structure most often takes a V shape or Y shape. This means the posts either branch out at the top, or they are installed at a precise angle relative to each other. So, what is the major advantage? This design allows you to fit up to twice the number of green shoots per linear metre of row. Because the canopy is effectively spread out, the leaves don't shade each other. The vines are much better aerated and receive crucial sunlight from all directions. This, in turn, results in a significant boost in yield and dramatically improved berry quality. They become noticeably larger and sweeter. However, it is important to note that this type of trellis is more complicated to construct and usually requires wider spacing between rows, but here is where winter preparation becomes critical. You can fabricate complex, Y-shaped crossarms for the posts, or weld and assemble V-shaped structures, ensuring all angles and dimensions are precisely calculated indoors. Just imagine, in the spring, you simply transport these complex, finished assemblies to your site and mount them onto your pre-installed posts. This efficiency will save you days of heavy, tiring labour out in the vineyard. Having the right tools is half the battle, no matter what the job is, and getting ready for winter is certainly no exception. Let's put together a list of everything we'll need, so we have plenty of time to check things over, sharpen edges, and stock up on any missing items. First up, measuring tools, a tape measure, a spirit level, and a carpenter's square. You simply can't build a quality frame or trellis without precise measurements. Next, the cutting tools. If you're working with wood, you'll need a handsaw, or, much better, a miter saw, which guarantees a perfectly square cut at the exact angle you need. For metal work, you'll definitely need an angle grinder, along with both cutting and grinding discs. Third, assembly tools. A reliable drill driver with a full set of bits and drill pieces, and a hammer. If welding is on the agenda, then naturally you'll need the welder and all the necessary accessories. And do not forget your personal protective equipment. PPE, protective gloves and safety glasses are absolutely non-negotiable. When you're using a grinder or a saw, you must protect your eyes and hands. Winter is the perfect time to get all your gear in fighting shape without the pressure of a deadline. The foundation, the base, is the most crucial part of any trellis, especially for a vineyard. The overall durability of the structure depends entirely on how securely and correctly the posts are installed. Posts must be buried at least 80 centimetres deep, and ideally, they should be set below your region's frost line. This prevents frost heave from pushing them out of the ground come spring. The end posts, sometimes called anchor posts, bear the brunt of the tension from the wire. Therefore, they should be installed leaning slightly outward and reinforced with additional bracing. Holes for the post can be prepared using a hand auger or a post hole digger. A base layer of crushed stone or gravel should be poured into the bottom of the hole for drainage. The post itself is positioned strictly vertical, using a level before the hole is filled with concrete. Obviously, you won't be digging or pouring concrete in the dead of winter, but you can study the technique beforehand, calculate the necessary amount of cement and aggregate, and even prepare the braces themselves, cutting them to size and fabricating the connection points for the main posts. This theoretical and practical preparation will make spring installation fast and highly efficient. We've touched upon the importance of wood treatment before, but let's dive deeper, as this is a crucial winter task. Imagine you've just bought fresh pine lumber for your new trellis. The first step is to let it air dry completely in a well-ventilated dry space. Next, grab your power sander or some simple sandpaper. You need to smooth out the surface and remove any rough patches or splinters. This isn't just cosmetic. A smooth surface ensures your protective coating applies evenly and adheres better, maximizing its lifespan. The next crucial step is applying a quality wood preservative. Do not skimp on this. Choose heavy-duty formulas, specifically those rated for ground contact and harsh conditions. You should apply the treatment in 2 to 3 generous coats, allowing each coat to fully dry before the next. Pay extra attention to the end grain of the lumber. It will soak up moisture like a sponge. Once the preservative is completely cured, you can move on to the final finish. Options include specialised decking oil, marine-grade varnish, or a durable exterior paint. Again, aim for a minimum of 2 coats. Yes, This is a long and meticulous process, but this preparation is exactly what transforms a simple piece of lumber into a durable component that will reliably last for decades. Working with metal requires a careful approach and strict adherence to safety protocols. If you've decided to build a trellis using square tubing or rebar, winter in the garage is actually the perfect time to get started. Let's begin with the cutting. Use an angle grinder to cut all your pieces, the main posts, cross members and braces, making sure they strictly match the dimensions on your blueprint or plan. Always wear safety glasses, gloves, and durable clothing to ensure stray sparks don't cause injury or damage. If you have a welder, you can immediately tack or weld the main components together. For instance, attaching the crossbars to the posts or fabricating those necessary Y-shaped tops for a two-plane trellis system. If welding isn't an option, don't worry. You can join the metal elements using standard nuts and bolts. If you go this route, you'll need to carefully measure, mark, and pre-drill all the necessary holes first. And finally, the finishing touch, paint. After cleaning, degreasing, and priming the metal, you can apply your chosen top coat. It's highly recommended to use a 3-in-1 rust-inhibiting enamel. These products contain a rust converter, the primer coat, and the final protective finish, all in one can. You should apply the paint with a brush, making sure to work the paint deeply into all the corners and seams. While spray cans are convenient, they tend to leave a layer that is too thin for long-term outdoor durability. We all know the devil is in the details, and in this project, those details are your fasteners. The quality and proper selection of hardware determine the strength of the entire structure. If you are building a wooden trellis, you must use galvanized or anodized screws and bolts. Regular black oxide wood screws will rust quickly outdoors, leaving unsightly streaks, and eventually the screws themselves will rot out. When connecting metal parts without welding, use bolts secured with nuts and washers. But the most crucial piece of hardware on a vineyard trellis is the wire tensioning system. Over time, the wire will inevitably sag under the weight of the vines, meaning you'll have to tighten it periodically. For this, there are specialized tools called turnbuckles. These are simple screw tensioners that allow you to tighten the wire very easily and powerfully. A more budget-friendly alternative is to install anchors on the end posts using strong eye bolts. The wire hooks onto these eye bolts and can be tightened by simply twisting the wire around the bolt shaft. Winter is the perfect time to calmly visit hardware stores, select all the necessary hardware, buy the exact quantity you need, and organize it into boxes. That way, everything will be ready and close at hand when spring rolls around. This brings us to the very heart of our winter preparation strategy. Instead of messing around cutting dozens of pieces in the garden come spring, we tackle that job right now. Get your plans laid out and start creating your components and blanks. Saw all the vertical posts and horizontal crossbars for your cucumber trellis. If you're building an A-frame structure, cut all the side frame pieces. If you're dealing with a single plane grape trellis, cut all your main posts and bracing supports. Right away at this stage, treat all the end grains and cut surfaces with protective sealant or preservative. If your plans require holes in the posts for wire or cabling, mark and drill them immediately, ideally using a drill press or even a standard power drill. It is much easier and far more accurate to do this when the post is lying flat on your workbench, not after it's already set in the ground. Stack the identical components into neat, organised piles. This assembly line process, much like the workflow at a furniture factory, won't just save you time in the spring, it will give you immense satisfaction. You get to see piece by piece how your future structure is born from a simple pile of materials. We've already discussed wire tensioning, but now let's explore how to create reliable anchors capable of maintaining that tension for years to come. On the end posts, the ones carrying the maximum load, you can't simply wrap the wire around them. Over time, it will either cut into the wood or eventually slip off. You need to create a dedicated anchoring point. The simplest and most reliable method is to use an eye bolt. This is a bolt that has a ring instead of a traditional head. You drill a pilot hole all the way through the post. Insert the eye bolt and secure it on the backside with a nut and a large wide washer. This gives you a strong metal loop, eye, where you can attach the wire and tighten it using a turnbuckle. If you don't have turnbuckles available, you can create a tensioner using the wire itself. Feed the wire through the hole and bring it back, forming a loop. Insert a sturdy metal rod or a heavy-duty nail into this loop, and by rotating the rod, you twist the wire, thus tightening the line. You can prepare these anchor points during the off-season, perhaps in the winter. Drill the holes in your posts, purchase the eye bolts, or cut short metal rods, ready for the twisting mechanism. This small detail ensures both the professional appearance and the long-term functionality of your trellis system. The core concept of this whole endeavour is modular construction. We aren't trying to build the entire cumbersome structure in one go. Instead, our goal is to prefabricate finished, individual modules that can be quickly joined together on site when spring arrives. What does that look like in practice? For an A-frame cucumber trellis, that means 2 completely finished side frames with the netting already attached. For a single plain grape trellis, you're looking at fully treated and pre-drilled posts ready for immediate installation. And for a double plane system, it's the completed V or Y-shaped tops. Essentially, you are shifting 80% of the total construction work from the outdoors into the comfort of your workshop. You aren't dependent on the weather, you're not fighting mosquitoes, and every tool you need is right there. This approach doesn't just speed up the overall process, it dramatically improves the quality of the final assembly. After all, when you're working in a comfortable position, at a workbench, with proper lighting, your precision and accuracy increase exponentially. Well, your winter work is finally wrapping up. The garage or shed is now packed with neat stacks of finished components and modules. The main task now is ensuring everything stays perfectly intact until spring arrives. Wooden elements must be stored in a dry, well-ventilated space. Never place them directly on a concrete floor. You must use blocking or wooden sleepers underneath to ensure proper airflow. Otherwise, the wood can absorb moisture and start to cup or warp. Stack the components, separating them with thin stickers or laths to maintain an air gap between each layer as well. Metal components are less demanding, but they should still be stored under cover, preventing the fresh paint or finish from facing unnecessary wear and tear. Gather all your hardware, turnbuckles and wire. Place them in a separate, clearly labelled box. This careful storage process is the final chord, the finishing touch of your winter preparation. It guarantees that when spring arrives, you'll find your materials in the exact same perfect condition you left them in, ready for the final, most satisfying stage, on-site assembly and installation. But now, let's talk about the best part, the savings. Some people might think this whole process just isn't worth the hassle, and that it's simpler to just buy a ready-made trellis. But let's run the numbers. Even the most basic metal arch or cucumber support found in a garden centre costs a pretty penny, and its strength and durability are usually highly questionable. As for ready-made grape trellises, those are definitely considered premium segment items. When you build a trellis yourself, you only pay for the materials, and if you buy your supplies during the winter, you can often catch seasonal sales and save even more cash. Your labour certainly has value, but you are investing it directly into reliability, longevity, and, most importantly, a structure that is perfectly tailored to your specific needs and the exact dimensions of your garden. But the biggest savings of all is the time and stress you save during the actual growing season. While your neighbours are frantically searching for supports in May or trying to quickly throw something together, you will be calmly setting out your seedlings next to your beautiful, reliable, and already finished trellis. That sense of foresight and the satisfaction of a job well done, that is truly priceless. So, step by step, we've covered how to turn those cold winter months into the most productive period for preparing for the gardening season. Let's quickly summarise. The main secret is planning and phased preparation. We aren't trying to do everything at once. Instead, we break the big task down into small, manageable steps. Planning, selecting materials, prepping them, cutting the pieces, and assembling the modules. And the best part? We do all this comfortably and without rushing. Just imagine this moment. Spring arrives, The ground thaws, and you take your pre-made pieces out to the garden. Assembly takes you just 1 or 2 days. Everything fits perfectly. Everything lines up because you planned it out in advance. And there it stands, your perfect trellis, sturdy, beautiful, built with care and smart thinking. It's not just a plant support, it's your small victory over the seasonal rush, your investment in a bountiful harvest, and a genuine source of pride. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. I truly hope you found it helpful. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you enjoyed the idea of winter preparations. Now, a question for you. Do you do any work for your garden or vegetable patch during the winter? Share your tips, tricks and ideas in the comments below. I would love to read them all.